Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity powered by Empowering Science Foundation. Today we have Dr. Amitesh Anand, who's not only a scientist but a great writer also. We might have fortune to hear some of his writings. A brief about Dr. Amitesh is he has done his bachelor's from Banaras Hindu University at Varanasi in chemistry. He did a master's in biomedical science from ACBR Delhi University, and then for his PhD he joined IGIB Delhi, post which he moved to United States for his postdoctoral studies, and presently Dr. Amitesh is assistant professor at Tata Institute for Fundamental Research, Mumbai. With this brief introduction, we would like to welcome Dr. Amitesh at the platform.
Sure, thanks so much for having me.
So, Dr. Amitesh, we start these conversations at Researcher Celebrities that how and when you decided that you want to be a researcher.
That's a very interesting question, and I don't know whether I have really a clear answer for that. What I can tell you is when I got interested in science and when I got interested in the depth of the science, and probably that's what makes us a researcher.
Mm-hmm.
So it was I come from relatively resource-starved family background, and I was born in Bihar. Probably the part now is in Jharkhand. So again, it's a typical Dhoni's dilemma, whether you call me from Bihar or Jharkhand. But then thing is that in Bihar, especially the time when I was doing my education, the schooling system was not very strong. So the kind of education you get in the school, at least if you belong to the kind of family background I was from, you don't get very competitive academic exposure. So to bypass that, there is a different arrangement, and there I don't know about now, but during that time there was a different arrangement where you take tuition from different teachers. So it was that time when I was taking tuition from Professor Gopal Saran Sharma. He's an excellent professor who taught me zoology. Now, these coaching centers were typically meant for preparation of medical entrance examinations. So if you go to any other entrance examination center, the preparation centers, coaching centers, they will teach you in a way that you become very competitive for that particular examination. But unlike that, this particular professor was unaffected of what the demand of those entrance examinations are. He was only and purely in love with zoology, and that's what he wanted us to also get a feel of. I remember when he was teaching evolution, typically that chapter can be taught hardly in 2 weeks or so. He spent a good 3-4 months teaching us evolution. And it was almost around that time when I got to see the depth of science. I got to see that at least my childish mind that used to believe that every knowledge is out there in the textbook got this reality check that textbook is probably just the tip of the iceberg. And there's a lot more to explore. There's a lot more that nobody knows. Nobody knows. So I'll say that it was around that time I got fascinated about science, I got excited about knowing the depth of the science. And in fact, that was kind of suicidal for my entrance examination preparation, because I was no longer preparing according to that exam. I was just enjoying the science. I was just reading books. I was reading all the details of the topics. In fact, details to a level which was not required for those entrance examinations. And the outcome was no different. I didn't qualify for medical entrance examinations. Mm-hmm. I have no regret for that. That I can tell you. Mm-hmm. So, and as said, I got fascinated about science, and then from there, I thought, no, let's get into the depth of it. And again, there's no science without chemistry. At least there's no life science without chemistry. Mm-hmm. So my natural choice was to get myself exposed to chemistry so that I learn the language of life. So that's where I went into my chemistry honors studies at BHU, as you mentioned. And then, it was a very natural progression. I don't think there was one particular moment where I thought, okay, now I will prepare myself as a researcher. I probably developed very naturally as a researcher.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how about this? When you said about coming from Bihar, Jharkhand, okay, when there are not many resources available. And this is very important for our viewers to understand that sometimes when the students, they claim that, okay, they don't have resources, so they can't do this or that. But when we have researcher celebrities like you, now the journey from so-called less resources to becoming yourself as a resource, because now you are a resource, you are a published author, you are a speaker at so many, different levels, and at news channels. Now people do look towards you like, okay, Dr. Amitesh is someone who people want to become. Or I'm sure that there are people in your village or in your society who want to imitate the progression which you have taken, the path you chose for yourself, and then now they are motivated. What are the things which we can share to tell them that, okay, the path has its own pros and cons? So let's talk about the PhD, how it started. As you said, it was a natural progression. But the path, once you decided that you want to do a PhD, how that went?
So I will probably be bringing my family background again and again because it has a lot to do with what I am today.
Mhm,
So again, as said, I was always interested in the depth of science or knowing science details and the nitty-gritties of the science. Okay, but I didn't have the luxury of doing all those things because the kind of background I come from, I always had this pressure that I have to earn. I have to contribute towards my family. So at every step, be it after bachelor's, be it after master's, I always tried going for some jobs or something where I'll immediately start earning.
mhm,
But probably life had its own plans for me. Um, I remember I got selected for this examination. That was for this CRPF examination. So I was like, okay, let's go for it.
mhm,
I was almost selected and I was called for this interview.
mhm,
So I had this conversation with my family, particularly my mother, where I told her that, okay, I have qualified for this entrance examination and they've called me for interview. I'll get into that and then I'll get the job. And she knew that how much I love science.
mhm,
And if you join CRPF, you'll do very good. You will contribute towards the betterment of country. You'll do all the contribution to your country, your family also. Yeah, it's a respected profession. But science will somewhere slip away. So she
mhm,
was like, are you comfortable with that? Or is it only about money? So I told her, of course, she's my mother. So I said, yeah, it is about money. I just want to make something fun. Then she was like, if it is only about money, then please don't bother. Because if we have been able to manage till your master's study, we can manage a little bit more further.
mhm.
And the reason I'm talking about this particular thing is that I 100% believe in the power of women.
True.
What a single woman can do to a family, to a society.
Mhm,
And in my case, particularly, in my or my siblings' case, particularly, um, I mentioned and you thank you you emphasized on the resource challenge part of my family background. The another thing that I don't talk often is the time or the era when I was growing up in my village. That was a time when Bihar was severely infested with crime.
mhm,
So it might sound a bit funny, but believe me, it was a very much a reality that when I was doing my schooling, the most attractive profession during that time was to get into crime.
mhm,
So it was by my mother and of course my father as well. But the thing that my mother did was like it's like I don't know how a person can be so strong and have that kind of vision for their uh, son, and also it's like amazing. So that's when I decided that no, I'll continue with my love for science and I'm not gonna deviate to go for a job and just earn money.
mhm,
And I, as I said, I was always interested in the depth of science. So I was reading about different professors, and I had
mhm,
made up my mind that I'll do my PhD with this professor here at TIFR. Now he has moved to IIT Bombay, Professor Roop Malik. So I was like 100% decided that if I'm going to do PhD, I will do it with him. And I don't know. I think life has its own funny way of doing things. So I came here for my PhD interview and I was thrown out. So my interview was probably bad or something. Fortunately, he was in the panel. So at least I got to see him, but I didn't qualify. Then I went back and I was doing my master's dissertation at this institute in Delhi, IGIB, Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. During that dissertation, I heard about this scientist, Professor Rajesh Gokhale. He is a chemical biologist. So by the kind of training I have, it aligns very well. But then, he's a big shot, and he was a director of that institute at that time. So I had never I don't think that at that point I didn't think that I'll get into his lab, and I had like okay I'll probably try somewhere else. In fact, I had this offer from CDFD in Hyderabad, which I was almost okay, I'm gonna take that offer. I probably even deposited the advance for that. I guess I did, yes. But later they refunded because somehow I got into Professor Rajesh Gokhale's lab. In fact, the interview that we had for my PhD entrance itself is a very, very interesting, very funny interview. So, and this I'm saying is that because your all these discussions and interviews are like heard by various different students who are probably aspiring or trying to figure out what is good for them or not. So many times we take these interviews very seriously, too seriously. And believe me, based on my own PhD interview, and now that I am part of the committee who interview different PhD applicants, I can tell you is that they only look for whether you are genuinely excited about science or not, because that's what we need in a PhD applicant. That's what we need in a researcher. So it was like one of the funny questions was that I think by that time the committee has made up their mind that they will probably offer me the PhD position. So Dr. Gokhale himself asked me that, so you already have several offers from various places in India. Like I had an offer from CDFD Hyderabad. I was getting interviewed at IISc. So there were lots of other offers already there or on their way. So he was like, why do you want to work in Delhi? It's so hot in here. And I don't know how I came up with that answer. Now I'm proud of that answer that I gave. I told him that I don't mind working here because I heard that this entire institution is centrally air conditioned. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that they simply look for whether you have confidence in yourself, whether you are up for something, and whether you are excited about science or not. They really do not care about you have bookish information or not. Those things can always be acquired, whatever is the requirement. Like now at this position, it's not that I have stopped studying textbook. Those books that you see in the background, those are not just for the background aesthetics. That actually is what I refer on a probably not daily but weekly basis to get my fundamentals aligned back. So that's what it is. And so this is how I get into my PhD program.
Okay.
I think I am probably deviating a bit. So I'll try being first. But so this is how it happened.
So the reason why we have these conversations with researchers of different stages in their life, we do have researchers from their masters. When they're interested, they want to pursue research as their career, doing PhD and taking the path what they want. The researchers, what is the most important part when we try to talk to the conversations with India in here, like what we are talking right now, and you made one thing for sure, which is clear, and to me at least, and I believe that all the audience can agree with me here, that nothing should stop you. Either it is the funny part of an interview, or it is someone's negligence or ignorance towards you. Okay, there is no way if you have that passion to follow. It's not only for biological sciences or for anything else. Whatever is your passion, researcher celebrities here believes that celebrating research, because we are talking about research here, so is the key. But if someone has a passion in dancing, then probably they should just celebrate it. Whatever you do, just celebrate it, because that's the only way. It's not about excellence, it's about the contentment, what how content you are. So you said that now what we heard is like registration till PhD. That's when the fun begins. When
Yeah.
people start
Yeah.
talking about, okay, let's talk about the journey of registration to, flying. Like we don't do this in India, but in other countries, people do fly their, caps after the graduating ceremony. So how was this journey from A to B?
Oh, this was a fun journey. This was amazingly fun journey, full of adventures and uh, failures and successes both. A lot of failures and a bit of success. But then again, I tell this to my group members that when you're doing your PhD, you only need maybe 5%, 10% of success. So if you're getting 90% failure, you are still okay. If you're getting 50% success, you're like, I don't know what you are doing. In science, it's highly improbable because you explore tons of things and you explore
Uh-huh.
unexplored things. So you are more bound to fail than succeed.
Mhm.
So in fact, my lab has a poster saying that failure is accepted and respected here. So what I'm trying to tell you is that my PhD journey was no different. It
Mhm.
was full of failures, full of trying and everything. But to begin with, what made this entire journey way more exciting was my PI. So I and my PhD supervisor have similar take towards science.
Mhm.
And at times that's not very good. Why? Let me explain that. I don't want to this become kind of a controversial statement. So what I'm trying to tell you is that uh, if you're complementing each other, it's very easy to develop that relationship.
Mhm.
But if you have similar attitude, if you have similar approach to things,
Mhm.
then you need to find that mutual respect. You need to find that balance where you say that, okay, he has this way of dealing with it, I have this way of dealing with it, let's see which one is better. Okay. And I'm like very very grateful to my PhD supervisor that he never ignored my ideas. He never just went on saying that this is my idea, so you have to accept it. No, he respected my ideas. He respected my suggestions. Everything with equal respect.
Mhm.
Um, of course, he has way more experience than I. And when I was doing my PhD, he had a lot more gray hair than I. So of course, his ideas were most often more productive, more practical ideas. So we went on accepting that. We went on working according to that. But we had our own classes. In fact, I remember during my PhD defense, he started my introduction with that.
Mhm.
That for the first 2 years, I and my PhD supervisor had no idea that how we will stick together, how we will complete this journey of PhD.
Mhm.
At times, our meetings used to get real heated.
Mhm.
So that was the fun part of it. At least now I can say those were the fun part of it. When it was happening, it was not fun.
Was that, yes.
So that's that. But again, he's an amazing person. Not only as a supervisor, he in general is an amazing human being. He is still very much in touch with me. He's someone who cares for people. So he always ensured that not only my science progresses, not only my science develop, I also develop as a um, good researcher. I also become independent researcher, independent thinker, and all of. So he had that thing, and in fact, he was very well aware of the kind of background I come from, and so these are again something very like what I'm just trying to tell you over here is that your success, of course, depends on you, but it doesn't only depend on you. You always find some people at different stages of your life who kind of navigate you through different things, who guide you on things. And I was fortunate enough that almost at every step, I got to work with or meet some real gems. So my PhD supervisor, no different. He ensured that I like my speaking, my presentation, my writing, all those, because he was extremely busy person, because I told you that he had a big research group. Also, he was into administration because he was the director of the institute. So he was extremely challenged by this time schedules and everything. But that didn't deter him from guiding me very carefully about what writing is, how scientific writing should be, and how it is different from the other kinds of writing. In fact, I remember the first manuscript that I wrote, he literally worked with me. Of course, managing time was difficult. So he used to call me at his place. And in fact, he used to cook breakfast for me. So we used to have breakfast together. And then we used to spend a couple of hours writing those manuscripts. And while writing, he'll tell me that why he's writing this sentence in this way and not the other way. So what I'm trying to tell you again is that we, of course, have to take care of ourselves. And we also have to identify a few mentors. We have to reach out to the resources that can help you grow better. So I got that PhD mentor. But of course, PhD is not only about your PhD mentor, it's also about the group. So the group was amazing, very competitive. A couple of my seniors were extremely competitive, and that taught me the passion of science, how one can be on top of what they are doing, how they can be always aware of everything that is happening around your area of research. In fact, I remember we used to have discussions about every area. We used to, now AI is a big thing. During my PhD time, we used to discuss about the pace with which this AI thing is coming, and we were like already thinking of that. Okay, once there will be a time and this will overtake a lot of things, and this is happening now. So what I'm just trying to tell you is that the group was amazing. It was a very nurturing group. And then of course a couple of other PIs, and also one of the things that I did during my PhD, and I really want students to take note of that, is that when I was doing my science, it was not only science. I also had my social life. So I enjoyed interacting with whoever possible. In fact, many times I was not so much seen with my lab group. I was seen with the others in the institution. I had this group that used to play badminton almost on a daily basis. I think we haven't missed maybe a couple of occasions in the 5 years we might have missed. Otherwise, it was almost religious that every day at 5 we'll leave the lab, we'll go play for 2 hours if those badminton court managers allow. We go even playing 3 hours, 4 hours. And then, of course, if needed, we used to come back. And then if there is something pending, we used to finish that off also. And again, on this, again, I don't know, I'm bringing again my PhD's mentor's name in here, because he is the one who encouraged me for that. He was like, if I see you in the lab beyond 5, I'll just throw you out of my lab. So have that thing. And so, and he meant that. He never used that as so whenever my experiments were failing, or when I was going through not so productive phase of my PhD, he never used my outside lab activity as something for so at times they use, okay, you play too much, you don't focus in the lab, that's why you're not happening. He never did that. In fact, I remember that the very day my PhD defense was, the penultimate evening, I and my badminton group were playing badminton. And they were like, okay, tomorrow is your PhD defense. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Let's play. In fact, when I say this badminton group, my PhD mentor was part of that group. So we all used to play together. In fact, those are another funny things. You can probably edit these parts whenever you want. But what I'm just trying to tell you over here is that there was some time, like if you're doing some experiment, you cannot time all the experiments. So there were days in which some of the experiment will kind of spill beyond 5 p.m. Mm-hmm. So Professor Gokhale, our labs were transparent labs with all those glass walls. So he'll be roaming around my workbench, kind of waiting for me to finish off my experiment so that I can join him for the badminton. So that was the kind of environment my PhD time had. And yeah, it was fun. We failed a lot. I started with this is another thing that I tell this to my group members also, that don't get very rigid on what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye open, see where all the different opportunities are. Because I started with the project which at that time I believe was a very exciting project, which I still believe that's a very exciting project. But along the way, something different happened. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take me much to notice that another thing is way more exciting than what I'm right now doing. Mm-hmm. So I just started working on that. And that actually gave me my entire PhD thesis. Mm-hmm. And I also got to publish, again, I'll use the word high impact. So I don't know, it is a metric of publication. So that was that. So I got to publish a really high impact publication using that. So, and that actually changed a lot of things about my career progression. Mm-hmm. So yes, that's what it is. Am I missing anything? Probably no, it was an exciting journey. As I said, full of adventures, full of failures. I'm not talking about failures because what happens is that in your life you want to retain positivity. So absolutely. Naturally, even when failures are way more than the successes, you remember those few successes more than those tons of failures. And that's how you keep yourself pumped up. That's how you keep yourself motivated. So I'm not giving any example of failure, but believe me, those things were more common than the successes.
No, but I think the one point which you made clear, which is even more important here, and we will talk about it now, the mentors, for PhD. So in India, what we call as like PhD supervisor, PhD guide, we don't use the word mentors here. And what I can understand from the conversation we are having here is your guide was not just a supervisor or a guide. He was a mentor who was there to play badminton with you, who was there to tell you that why the experiments are failing, let's troubleshoot them, who was there to tell you that what are the opportunities you should be looking and working towards. It's not about switching projects. It's about, training you in writing, because that's the thing which is inevitable in research community. We have, all the researchers from different backgrounds, from different stages in their life, but research publication is one thing which stays there forever. Either you are a PhD student or you are a professor, you have to publish whatever you are doing in your lab. So let's talk about the understanding of a PhD supervisor. Now, as when you said you are in committees who are doing that, you yourself in your lab have PhD students. What are the things which you imbibed from your mentor, and what are the things which you added to that mentorship program?
Sure. So since you're talking about my own mentoring style, it's a mix of two. It's a mix of two mentors. Because as I mentioned to you that I have been super fortunate that at every stage of my career, I worked with or I got guided by some amazing people. So I talked a lot about my PhD mentor, but I cannot talk less about my postdoc mentor. And again, I'm very carefully using the word mentor because these people really were the mentor. They were not just supervisor. They were not just there to get things out from me. They were also there to train me, improve me, and look after me. So my postdoc mentor, Professor Bernard Paulson, he's another gem of a person. So I remember during the entire 4.5 years, whenever I used to meet him, the very first thing he'll ask is, "How are you doing? And what are your career goals? And how are you improving or progressing towards that?" So he will not start the discussion with the discussing about the work I am doing or the data that I'm getting, the kind of publication I'll be able to provide to the group. He didn't used to start with those things. He used to start talking about in general well-being, what are the plans, everything is everything all right, everything, and then he'll of course take out time to discuss about the data, because at the end we are doing science, and that's the thing that we are excited about. I also wanted to talk about data. It's not that he only. So now in my own group, and again, it's not a very intentional thing that I'm trying to do, that okay, this part I'll do according to Professor Gokhale's style, or this part I'll do Professor Paulson's style, or this is something I'll do in a different style. And like there are several other mentors also in my master's time. There's this Professor Vani Brahmachari, amazing person. So that's what I'm telling you, that these are the people who have kind of groomed the entire mentoring style of me. So in general, my way of mentoring my group, if I dare to call myself as a mentor, is to let them do what they want to do. Just I try stepping in when I see that they are troubled, or when I see that they are deviating a lot from their course of journey. So that's where I step in. Otherwise, I give them every freedom to explore whatever they want to do. In fact, I 100% believe that each of my group member is, if not more, equally, what do you say, equally, I don't know, equipped or a scientist than I am. So I don't think they are in any way less than me. They are more or equal to me, and they have all the ingredients required to be a very good researcher. So only thing that I can do is to be there for them when they need me. And in fact, I give this example in my, so I take molecular biology courses, and one of the favorite example that I use during my classes is Michelson Stahl. So the guy is like, who Michelson Stahl is. The fun thing is that when they did their discovery, none of them were so-called by definition scientists. One was PhD student, another was a postdoc. So what I'm just trying to tell you is that it's not that the PhD student or a postdoc in my lab knows things or can do things less than I. So I'm just repeating myself that my way of working with them is to be there for them, keep them focused, keep them excited. At times, as I told you, science is a very, very frustrating journey. So when I see that someone is going a little bit towards extra frustration, I try catching that person. I try bringing that energy back. I try telling them why it is okay to have those failures, why they should learn from that, and they should just keep on doing what they are. Of course, if there is a way to improve that, do that, but don't get disheartened. So I just try to keep a happy group. One thing that I kind of impose in the group, which is my way of working, it may not be something everyone will agree to, is that we start at 9:30 a.m. in the morning. The reason is that like compared to the second half of the day, in the first half of the day, you are more energized. So I like to see my group members in the morning, because at that time I get to interact with them with full energy. I get to see what they are planning on doing, everything. And also because the kind of profile I am in, or any PIs, we get dragged into multiple different tasks. Part of this committee, that committee, there are this meeting going on, that meeting going on. You are invited for various talks and everything. So finding time also become at times challenging. But if I come to the lab at 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and my group is around, then those first half an hour to an hour is entirely dedicated to my group. So that's where I get to meet with them, talk to them, understand what they are doing, and if there is anything I can help them, then I try doing that. Yeah, but then the other side of it is that we do not have any strict departure time, and I tell them very carefully that even if you think that within an hour of working you are done for the day, just go back, enjoy whatever you want to do, go do that. So it's not that you have to be in the lab. It's not it's not a it's not a job. It's a passion that they are pursuing.
Absolutely.
It's a science. It's a research. If you're not feeling energized that day, there's no point spending the time in the lab. Just go do whatever that will help you get that energy back, and then next day come back, compensate for that, do better. So that's more or less my way of working is. And yeah, I just try to be there for them. I just try to I like to work with them. Then I don't consider any of my lab member any less than me, and I don't think that I am more academically or scientifically superior to them.
No, I think this is something which what you brings to the table today in this conversation is what we have not seen a lot in Indian PIs, just because it is just a generation thing which is happening now. But what we have been trained with this culture of sir and ma'am, you have been through that path. Okay. You got mentored with that special tool of empathy and sympathy where your PI is playing badminton with you. Do you play badminton with your students or the
I
group?
would, I would love to. So thing is that like it's a starting group. We have it's been 1.5 years of our start. So right now things are all over the place. We are just trying to gather ourselves, get up and get running, which now we are almost there. So soon I will start doing those things.
Okay.
Yes.
So now this
I promised my group members that by the end of second year, we'll start those activities.
Sweet. So now this brings us to our next point because we are almost towards the edge of the conversation also. The one point which you made very clear and which is very crucial for all the audience who are listening to this conversation, that research what we do in lab doesn't matter in what capacity, being a PhD student or postdoc or in any other capacity, even if you are a technician, it is not a job. It is the passion which you are following. If you can actually commit to that passion, if you think this is something you really want to work, then the only thing which is not limiting is time. You can work for an hour, as Dr. Amitesh just said, and then just you are done for the day if you don't feel that is your day. And we have seen in Indian labs that PhD students specifically, they are there for almost 12 hours every day in their labs pursuing their PhD. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's a highly debated topic. Okay. There are different ways in which different labs operate, and I'm not here to criticize any lab which is operating in a way differently than my way of working.
True.
What I will probably say on this is that there are different kinds of science. So there are some labs which are doing more technique oriented science. Okay. In technique oriented science, again, believe me, I'm not undermining those science. Those are also very, very relevant science. Okay. But if you're doing a technique oriented science where you don't have to tire your brain cells too much, then it's okay. You can fatigue your body. You can stay on. You can work for long hours. You can get all those experiments or whatever experiments done for maybe 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. As you mentioned, in some cases, they like really go on for 16 hours or so. So you can do that. But if your kind of science requires input from your higher up, then it's very, very important that you keep your brain cells healthy, relaxed. Then only those ideas and thoughts will come. Then only you'll be able to troubleshoot things. So, and it's not that I don't like working long hours. I can give you an example that when my PhD work, uh, the reason I'm not talking too much about my postdoc work is that somehow I've been fortunate enough that during my postdoc work, I didn't encounter too many, what do you say, roadblocks. Okay, that could also be because the way I was trained during my PhD, I got exposed to like all different kinds of roadblocks. So I kind of knew by the time how to maneuver around those things. So the example that I was telling you over here is that my work was getting reviewed at this journal called Molecular Cell. And these journals have like very rigorous review process. So I'm just going a little bit into the actual science of work. So we were identifying a molecule from this bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay. This molecule is what we now call as polycated quinone, and this molecule is produced in very tiny quantity. Okay. So we got that molecule, and we were the first one to identify this molecule from this natural source, and also prove what the physiological significance of this molecule is. So we got this molecule, we did all the characterization possible in our capacity. We did all the mass spec and everything. We masked the fingerprint with the standard, and we proved that, okay, this is the molecule. But like reviewers are free to ask whatever they want to. So one of the reviewers was probably from more of a chemistry background. So that reviewer said that, okay, it's all fine. You have a very nice mass spec profile, which is indicating that this is the molecule that you are saying. But the structure of the molecule is such that it might have slight division in the length of the alkyl chain that is attached to it, which will, in which case, the molecule might be different, but the same mass spec profile will be achieved. Okay. So what he said that in order to resolve that, you need to do NMR. Okay. Now the problem over here is that this molecule is produced in so tiny quantity. And I also believe that when I was doing my PhD work at the time, the isolation of this molecule was not very well established. The purification and extraction of this molecule was not very well established. So that was another reason why we are not getting this molecule in a decent quantity. They asked the question that give us the NMR. So you can't say that, no, we can't, we will not. Of course, if it is impossible, you will fight back. You'll say that, okay, this is something we cannot do. Do whatever you like, except, or we'll go to some other place. But typically, we want to get things done. And this was a fair criticism because I said that in this case, mass spec profile might have been a little bit confusing because two different molecules could have been the same mass spec profile. So I took the challenge of doing the NMR, and now this molecule is produced in extremely tiny quantity. And this is this example that I'm giving over here. I'm trying to bring in 2 points. One, there will be time in your PhD journey where you will be forced to work long hours. Okay. And I'm again emphasizing that those long hour working doesn't require, those experiment doesn't require too much of your mental involvement, that require your physical involvement. Because in this case, I knew what extraction protocol I'm following. I knew what is the detection protocol that I'm following. Only thing that I had to do is instead of extracting this molecule from maybe 5-liter cultures, I had to extract this molecule from maybe 25-liter culture or if possible 50-liter culture or so. So I went on purifying this molecule from liters and liters of microbacterial culture for about 4 or 5 weeks, not weeks, 4 or 5 days in a continuation. And I remember I didn't went back to my hostel for those 3-4 days. I used to somehow manage an hour or two of sleep in between those purification steps. So what I'm trying to again re-emphasize over here is that there are times when you'll have to work late, when you'll have to work long hours, but not always. Because more than anything, your mental acumen is what is important for your research. So keep a healthy habit, and that will keep your science healthy.
Absolutely. I think it was great to have you on the platform. And now when we are closing this conversation, I would like to tell all the young researchers who are, interested in doing any kind of chemical or biological studies or pursue that for their PhD. Dr. Amitesh has started his lab at TIFR. They probably are going to expand soon. And one thing which I can assure, and you can understand from this conversation, that he is the mentor which probably will change your life, not only in science, but how you develop as a human also. With this, we will say thank you, Dr. Amitesh, for sharing this wonderful journey, enthusiastic journey. And for all these viewers, I will say stay tuned for Researcher Celebrity, another episode. And a closing remark for this video: failures are accepted and respected at his place. So don't even think about if you want to give it a try. Dr. Amitesh, up to you. And thank you very, very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, because you brought back those nostalgic moments and everything. So at times it's good to remember how you came where you are right now. So thanks
It
so much
was
for
a
doing
pleasure.
that. And again, as you rightly mentioned, that my lab is expanding, and we are always looking forward to some very enthusiastic people to work with. And more than anything, not only my lab, explore. There are tons of good places to do good science. Stay motivated, find your own niche, and enjoy science.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amitesh. Have a great one. Thank
You
you.
too.